Hey Rishelle, thanks very much for coming today. Can you say please a few words about yourself?
Okay, my name is Rishelle Wimmer. I'm a senior lecturer at the FH Salzburg in the Information Technology and Digitalization Department, and I teach courses on in English for academic writing and also for cultural competence.
Okay, so I think it's about the latter thing that we're going to talk about today. So the first question I have for you is, what do you think would be important for a student to know after they graduate in regard to identity, for example?
Okay, recognizing identity is a sociological construct, recognizing that we individually have an identity, who we are, how we see ourselves as a person, and then also how does the rest of the world see us? Yeah. What is our social identity? And what impact does that have in the interactions that we have with other people, but also what impact does it have in the interactions that we have with algorithmic operations and systems?
Yeah. What do you think would be important for students to know about coded bias?
To recognize that not everyone is treated the same. Some people have advantages depending on how a product was developed. And to know that when I am developing a product, I need to be aware of not just designing for myself, but designing for all sorts of users.
Right. And then I think related to that a little bit, what do you think would be important for them to know about algorithmic justice?
Algorithmic justice, what does that really mean? It means that fairness. We're talking about fairness, but also about equity, that everybody has the same chance and opportunities. So does the algorithm that I design or the software that I design allow everybody, regardless of their identity, their social identity, their gender, their skin color, their ability, does everybody have the same access and the same opportunities when this algorithm is being applied? For example, in the area of image processing, if an image processing algorithm is working only on certain degrees of skin color, and it doesn't recognize darker skin colors, only recognize lighter skin color, these algorithms that are then built into a self-driving automated system of a car or some other vehicle, what happens on the road if someone is overlooked?
Yep.
I think examining existing algorithms at work, whether in financial technology, when you're asking for a loan at a bank, and what is the process that a loan supervisor goes through to determine whether somebody is creditworthy. Also in policing, there are the problems of expected areas of crime. So if I'm judging the density of crimes that are committed in a certain area or a certain postcode, and I'm using this data to predict future potential crimes, right? The probability of crimes in that area. Will I over-police those people in that area based on that? And to be aware that how those systems are working, how they've historically worked in human interactions, and then how these data sets being applied for training machine learning algorithms. This is an important factor. So even the consideration, the awareness, to develop that awareness, there could be potentially harm done in high-risk situations, which are situations that involve human interactions. This is a great chance to expand our concept of both what we can do as developers and of our responsibility as engineers.
Yep.
Well, sometimes it's a really difficult situation because you're not always working alone. You have people above you that want you to finish a product, and they're not always concerned with these aspects. Or compliance. Now we have the EU has released the AI Act, and so this is a lot of points that need to be fulfilled and be aware of. This is really new. So how do we develop products that are going to meet compliance with those regulations? So this is one area. So what is the responsibility of the developer? To be aware of regulations and protocols that exist. Responsibility of developers also to be aware of a concept of fairness and equity for all people who will be affected by their product or their algorithm. So seeing what's wrong and doing case studies, which is what I try to do in my course, doing case studies about specific algorithms that are already being applied in the economic, in the housing, in the policing area, in medical area, being misdiagnosed by an algorithm, and then to awaken that sensibility. I have to watch out for this.
Right. Last question. The students have a project with little robots where they have to work in groups of maybe 4 or so members. Do you have any recommendations from your perspective about something that might help them to work effectively and develop good robots?
Okay, working effectively, developing good robots to do a specific task.
Yeah, they have to, each year there's a different task that the students have to work around, but it's often robots that have to move around autonomously within a smart city. So they communicate maybe with infrastructure to get a building to let them in, and maybe they might have to use also some flying robots. Usually it's car robots, and yeah.
Okay, so when we have a problem, we're always looking at from how can I get a solution for it, right? How can I solve it as expediently as possible? Often this is just from our perspective. So when we take it from one perspective, we're limited. If we're working in a group of 3 or 4 people, really important at that stage is to gain these perspectives from each person in the group before we start developing, before we start designing. But even more important is to go out into the field and get the perspectives of people who are impacted by the situation. So the person who owns the building or manages the building, what's happening in the environment around the building, who's interacting within that environment, and how are those interactions occurring. So seeing that every problem or every situation that you want to optimize is contingent upon a complex set of activities and actions, recognizing that complexity and honoring it by investigating it before coming to the point of creating design.
Sounds great. Thanks so much, Rishelle.
Thank you.